I am a big fan of the long tail cast on. I'm going to guess that if you're trying this pattern that you're not a total beginner and you're comfortable and you have a favorite cast on or know where to find one. So I'll let you watch me do this a few times and then I'm going to zip through because it's a lot of stitches. A lot of people recommend when you're casting on a huge number of stitches that you do it in chunks. So you cast on, say, 20 stitches and then place a marker. That way you don't have to keep counting those same 20 stitches over and over and over, because it's inevitable that we get interrupted by the kids or the cat or the husband or the phone or whatever. So happy casting on. I am a big fan of the long tail cast on. I'm going to guess that if you're trying this pattern that you're not a total beginner and you're comfortable and you have a favorite cast on or know where to find one. So I'll let you watch me do this a few times and then I'm going to zip through because it's a lot of stitches. A lot of people recommend when you're casting on a huge number of stitches that you do it in chunks. So you cast on, say, 20 stitches and then place a marker. That way you don't have to keep counting those same 20 stitches over and over and over, because it's inevitable that we get interrupted by the kids or the cat or the husband or the phone or whatever. So happy casting on. All right, just about got it there. Last 10. Everything's all twisty. There we go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cut this extra yarn. I always pull a lot extra just in case, so I don't have to do it all over again. So I'll leave a good 6 or 8 inches just in case. All right, so everything all twisted around. Get your stitches all lined up to the inside. You don't want to twist. That'll put a kink in all of your plans. See, they're kind of twisted around there. It's always hard when the yarn is tiny. That's okay though, take your time. You'll be so proud of yourself when you finish this. I promise. All right, looks good. All of our stitches are facing in. That makes me happy. Looks good. Make sure you take your working yarn, not your end, right? And join up your circle. I like working with, I like knitting in a round. The traditional way is to do it with DPNs. So, I don't know. I had a hard time finding wooden DPNs and my metal ones kept falling out. on the last one I did, and I found that super frustrating, so I just switched over to the 16-inch DPNs from ChiaGoo that I ordered on Amazon. They were, I can link them in the box below. They weren't very expensive, like $8 each or something, and of course they're delivered right to your door. You don't have to fight the crowds at wherever and get frustrated because they don't have what you want, the whole shebang. So now we're going to work a 2x2 rib for 5 rows. So knit 2, purl 2 for 5 rows. I'm a super slow purler and a mediocre knitter, but take your time. The first row is always the most frustrating, I find. Oh, and you totally want a stitch marker. Here's mine over here. Not an advertisement for Piney Creek yarn, but they're wonderful. I always want to try to support local yarn people. It's my little doggy. So mark your beginning. I like to knit to begin. It's kind of snug. Probably cast on a little bit too snug in the beginning. And then I split the yarn. There we go. All right, so we're off to the races. So knit 2, purl 2 for 5 rows. And everything's so snug right now. Take your time, get it right. And I'll see you back in 5 rows. How's that? I forgot to tell you to make sure you're using your smaller needles for this first beginning portion. This part always takes the longest, I think. All right. I'm really out of here this time. Happy ribbing. See you soon. All right, so I have, here we have our 5, what do we have here? Oh, so here we have our knit 2, purl 2 rib for 5 rows, or however many rows you want. You could probably do a couple more since this is a pretty fine thread. Whatever makes you happy. Make it your own, of course. Personalize it. Remember, the pattern is just a guide. It is your canvas and you're the Van Gogh, right? Just like we talked about. So once you're done with the ribbing for however many rows, you're going to set the rib per the pattern by knitting 1 row around. Now is a really super good time to make sure you have the appropriate number of stitches all the way around for your pattern that you're going to use for the brim. The brim for the pattern that we are going to use for Miss Sinclair's pattern is really good, worked between 12 and 20 rows, they recommend. The one I'm going to be doing is 17 rows, so that's pretty good. I've got a big old adult head, and I'm making this for me. I don't make things for me very often, but this one's going to be for me. So that's what we're going to start with. So I've already knitted my own one row all the way around, and I had to make an adjustment. I don't know what I did, but I invariably made a whoopsie somewhere along the line, so I had to add a few stitches to make it so I have the right amount. So I've already picked my pattern out that I'm going to use for the brim. Mine's going to be in multiples of 36. There are tons and tons of Fair Isle patterns out there. Find one that makes you happy. There's loads and loads on Pinterest, or you can get some graph paper, design one on your own. There's lots of options. So I did a little bit of both. I'm using one that came with the pattern, and I'm designed part of it on my own. So it's going to be a half and half. I know I originally said I was going to use 2 colors, but I ordered 3 colors of yarn from Knit Picks because I wasn't quite sure about the red. You know, things look a bit different when you're looking at them on the computer screen. So I'm going to use black as my main color. This color of red, which I still can't remember the name of, I have it in the other room. And then a salsa red will be my main pattern on the main part of the hat. But we'll get to that later on down the road. So I'll also link a little how-to video on Fair Isle or color strand knitting in case you need some help with that. It's not too hard. You just knit with one color, put it down, pick up the next color. You never really want to carry a float, which is the color you're going to be scooting along behind, more than probably 4 stitches. And it's easy enough. You can just kind of tuck it in your main color, or tuck it behind and then just keep going, is one way to do it. And then keep on carrying on. And that way it'll tuck it into the stitch and you can carry it along. But I shouldn't have too many. I don't have, I think 1, 2, 3 is the most that I have, so I won't have any major floats to carry along with the pattern that I'll be using. But yeah, so that's that. I'll check in along the way and show you how things are going. But I think you're going to do really well. Just take your time. I'll show you my little graph here. It's a magnet board. I enlarged it onto graph paper by hand and then scanned it onto Google Drive. That way I can just print it up and scribble all over it whenever I want to. I use these little magnets so I can save my place. Or you can just use a ruler and a piece of paper, but and of course I have a pencil so I can scribble and do whatever I'm going to do along the way, and keep track. The X's are going to be the red color for me. The blank spaces will be the black, and can't wait to see how it goes. But just take your time, work your way through, and we'll see how it goes. And I'll check back closer as we get closer towards the end, and we'll see how we're doing. But I have complete faith in you. I know you can do this. Just take your time, work stitch by stitch, trust in the pattern, go row by row, stitch by stitch, just work it. Always work from the right to the left and just keep repeating and repeating, and working in the round and the round, whether you're working with circular needles or DPNs, it's the same theory. It's the same theory. You're just going to keep going and going and going. So if you're working with one solid color or multiple colors, it's really just the same thing. Just take your time, go slow, and before you know it, you're going to be an old pro knocking out these hats like left and right. So let's do the brim, and I'll check back with you, and I'm excited to see how everybody's stuff turns out. See you soon. Okay, so I'm on my very first row of my stranded knitting, and here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 red stitches coming up, and I don't want to carry the black along those 7 stitches and just leave it flopping out there in the back, because it's bound to get caught on something. So I'm gonna kind of tack it up around the 4th stitch, and I want to show you how to do that. Looking over, I don't have too many other places where that's going to be a problem that I can see. Yeah, looks like just this very first row, and then probably again on the very top that'll be a thing. So, and this is repeating, so I'll do this 4 times throughout the pattern. So for the circumference of my hat, my brim. So I'll show you that right now. So here we go with that. So you can see I just did 3 black stitches, and here's my red a little farther back. So let's see here. We're just going to leave our black. We're just going to let him hang down there. Scooch up your working. So we're just going to go. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to go 4. Then I'm going to just take the black yarn. It's kind of awkward, but I'm just going to switch it around, flip it under. So the black yarn now, I'm just going to put it over top. Do you see there? And then go ahead and just pick up my working yarn again. So this is just on top there. Just hold him under, and he'll just get kind of knitted in. Ugh. 5, 6, 7. And you'll see there's a kind of a loop there, and you don't want to tug it too tight, but you can pull him a little bit. You can see the little, these are where it carries along the back. And you don't want them too tight, because you want your hat to have some give. You know, we want to stretch when you want to put it on your head. But you don't want it to be so loose either that it, you know, gets caught in your fingers or what have you. Plus, when you wash and you block it out at the end. So there we go. And that's how you carry it. And you'll see how it works out as we stack row upon row upon row. It'll all work out. And that's how you carry, so you don't have those big floppy stitches. All right? So just keep building, 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 just like constructing a house or a wall. And pretty soon you're going to have your brim. I'm excited for you, and I'll see you when we're close to your brim being done. And that part is exciting too, because then we're going to flip your whole piece of work inside out. And that'll be the second video, because this one's getting kind of long. And I'll put this one up for you now. So good luck, happy knitting, and keep going. Just keep going. Don't worry about little mistakes. Those are what makes it, you know, little bits of you and personality. So be proud of what you do. I'm excited.